Good. You're awake. We have been waiting. Not long, only about 11 years.
There are 4 of you staring at me. Why are there 4 of you staring at me?
The first thing I noticed when I woke up was the ceiling. It was metal, riveted, old in the way that only things built to last centuries manage to look. Not falling apart, just deeply, thoroughly used. There were pipes running along it in clusters, some of them sweating condensation in the recycled air, and a row of amber utility lights that threw everything into the particular warm gold of a place that had given up on natural light a long time ago. The second thing I noticed was that I was not alone. There were, by my immediate count, 4 of them, standing in a loose semicircle around the cot I was lying on, watching me with expressions that ranged from cautious to openly curious. Green skin, pointed ears that angled outward and slightly upward, like they were permanently catching a sound just beyond my frequency range. Dark hair in various configurations. Braids, dreads, loose coils. Eyes the color of warm earth in October. Sat up. They leaned back slightly, collectively, in the way of people who had been told something might happen and are now experiencing it happening. "He's awake," said the one nearest to me. She was shorter than the others, with dark hair pinned up and coming loose in a way that suggested it had been pinned up some time ago and had been doing what it wanted since. She had one hand resting on the frame of the cot like she had placed it there to steady herself and then forgotten to move it. "I can see that," I said, because I was awake and it seemed worth confirming. Her name was Zara. The others were Kale, Mira, and Sova, introduced in that order, with a particular efficiency of people who have rehearsed something and are now performing it under conditions that differ from rehearsal. I was, they explained, in Bunker 17 of the Remnant Network. I had been in cryo suspension for an unspecified period. The bunker was currently home to 43 individuals, all of them members of the Vorathi people, all of them female, all of them survivors of the collapse of the surface settlements 11 years ago. I absorbed this information with the careful neutrality of someone who has learned that the first few minutes after waking from cryosleep are not the time for complicated emotional responses. "Why was I in cryo?" asked. "We found you," Zara said. "Your pod was in the lower levels. It had been there longer than the bunker." "How much longer?" She exchanged a look with Kale, who was the tallest and had the expression of someone who was good at math and did not always enjoy being good at math. "Our best estimate," Kale said, "is approximately 230 years. My name is Dex Harrow. I was 31 years old when I went into the pod. I had been part of a deep survey team on a world that, I was now understanding, no longer existed in the form I had left it. The survey team had been 12 people. I did not ask about the others immediately, because the answer was in the way they looked at me when I mentioned them, and I needed a few more minutes before I was ready to hear it said out loud. The bunker was larger than the room I had woken in suggested. It occupied 3 underground levels, connected by ladders and one functioning lift that made a sound like it was reconsidering its life choices every time it moved. The Vorathi had built it over 11 years with materials salvaged from the surface and what they could manufacture below ground. It was, by any reasonable measure, an extraordinary piece of engineering accomplished under conditions that would have broken a less determined people. I said this to Zara on the 3rd day, when she was showing me the hydroponics bays on the 2nd level. "We had no choice," she said, with the matter-of-fact delivery of someone who had long since made peace with necessity. "Everyone has a choice," I said. "You chose to keep building." She looked at me sideways. "Is that a human thing? To say that choosing to survive is a choice worth noting?" "It's the most important choice there is," I said. She was quiet for a moment, tending to something green and leafy that I could not identify. "Our elders say that the Vorathi survive because we have no talent for giving up," she said finally. "I always thought that was just something elders say. But perhaps there is a version of it that is true." The question of what I was going to do arrived, as significant questions tend to, before I felt ready for it. On the 5th day, the bunker's senior council, 7 women who ranged in age from what I estimated as 30 to well past 100, though Vorathi aging was not something I could read accurately, called me to the main hall. They sat in a half-circle. I stood in the middle of it and felt the particular weight of being the only representative of your species in a room. Their question was direct. The Vorathi had lost contact with the wider network of remnant bunkers 4 years ago. They had a signal transmitter capable of reaching the outer relay stations, but it required a calibration key that their own technicians had been unable to replicate. The key was a human-designed system, part of the original survey network infrastructure, built 2 centuries before I went into the pod. I had designed it. Not personally, I had been part of the team that designed it, and I had not known until Kale showed me the schematics on the 4th day, and had spent most of the 4th night sitting with the fact that something I had helped build had outlasted everyone I had built it with. "Can you restore it?" the senior elder asked. "Yes," I said. "'Cause I could. And because the alternative was 43 people staying cut off from whatever remained of the network for reasons that had just become fixable." "How long?" "Give me 3 days and someone who knows your current power configuration," I said. 2.5 if Kale helps. Kale, who was sitting to the left of the council, looked at me with the expression of someone who had not expected to be named. "I will help," she said. We finished in 2 days and 14 hours. When the transmitter sent its first signal in 4 years, the main hall filled with a sound I had never heard the Vorathi make before. Not celebration exactly. Something older than celebration. The sound of people who had been holding something very tightly for a very long time and had just, for the first time, been able to set it down. Zara found me afterward in the corridor outside the transmitter room, sitting on the floor with my back against the riveted wall. She sat down beside me. Not too close. Just close enough.